Hello friends, this is Umesh Mari. Welcome to my channel An Engineer's Guide. So guys, in the previous two sessions we have learned about the concept of post weld heat treatment, and then after that we have learned about the clause UW40F. In that clause UW40F we have learned about first 4 points which are used to calculate the nominal thickness for PWHT. So guys, in this session we will learn about point number 5 and point number 6, which are also the very important points in the clause UW40F. So guys, if you have not seen those first two videos, then I will recommend you to first see those two videos and then come back for this video. So guys, before moving forward, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which will be free for you but will give me a lot of motivation to create such a useful videos for you. Also click on the bell icon to get the latest update from our channel. Thank you. So guys, while learning the clause UW40F, always keep in mind for nominal thickness, we have to consider the greatest weld thickness of all weld types. But in point number 5, generally we get some confusion. So let's learn the point number 5. What point number 5 says, for welded joint connects the parts of unequal thickness. So when we have to connect the parts having unequal thickness, in that case, nominal thickness will be the thinner of two adjacent butt weld parts, including shell to head, because most of the times the thickness variation occurs at the shell to head junction. So in this case, we have to consider the minimum of T1 or T2. So what is T1? What is T2? Let's understand what is T1. So let's take one example. I'm going to join the two shells, one having thickness T1 and another having thickness T2. So in this case, I have to consider the nominal thickness, which is equal to the thickness of thinner shell, which is nothing but the T1. But why it is so? So let's understand. Now, from this figure, you may have understood that why we are considering the T1 as a nominal thickness, because while joining the thinner shell with a thicker shell, we generally provide the taper transition in the thicker shell. So at the weld junction, the final thickness of weld will be equal to the thickness of the thinner shell. So that's why here our nominal thickness will be equal to the T1. This is all about the point number 5a. Now let's move towards the point number 5b. So what point number 5b says? Point number 5b says the nominal thickness will be the thickness of shell or fillet weld, whichever is greater. So this clause is specifically applicable for sketch E from figure UW 13.1. So I will recommend you to just go to the code and see the figure UW 13.1 sketch E. For your reference, I'd like to show the sketch. So if such type of arrangement is there, when we have to weld the head in the intermediate portion of the shell, and there are the fillet weld and butt weld. So here in this case, the nominal thickness will be the thickness of fillet weld, which is nothing but the throat of the fillet weld, and butt weld, which is nothing but the thickness of the shell. Now let's understand the point number 5c. Point number 5c says the nominal thickness will be the thickness of shell in connections to the tube sheets, flatheads, covers and flanges. So this is little bit tricky, so we will go one by one. By example, first of all we will see for shell welded to the flatheads. So on flathead you can see there is one lip provided, and that lip is welded with the shell. So at the position of the weld, thickness of weld is governed by the shell thickness. So that's why nominal thickness will be the thickness of the shell. Now let's see the another example. Shell to tube sheet joint. So at the position of the weld, also the thickness of the weld is equal to the thickness of the shell. So this is about point number 5c. But there are some exceptions, like it specifically says there is a sketch C in mandatory appendix 2 figure 2-4, thickness of weld shall govern. So here we can see the thickness of weld is along the flange thickness, so that in such this case the thickness of flange or thickness of weld will be the nominal thickness of the weld. So we have to always consider the thickness of the weld for nominal calculations. So this is all about the point number 5c. Now let's see the point number 5d. Point number 5d says the thickness of the weld across the nozzle neck or shell or head or RF pad or attachment fillet weld, whichever is the greater. So I recommend you to just go to the figure UW 16.1 and UW 16.2. So this clause specifically relates with the nominal thickness calculation for nozzles. Now let's move towards the point number 5e. So point number 5e says the thickness of the nozzle neck at the joint in the nozzle neck to the flange connection. So when we have to weld the nozzle flange with the nozzle neck, so particularly the thickness of weld will be equal to the thickness of nozzle wick. So in such case, nominal thickness will be the thickness of the nozzle neck. Now let's move towards the point number 5f. Point number 5 say, Point number 5f says the nominal thickness will be the thickness of the weld at the point of attachment when non-pressure parts connect to the pressure parts. Then point number 5g, in case of tube in tube two tube sheet joint connections, nominal thickness will be the thickness of the tube. So it is a bit clear, but still for your understanding, I'd like to show you a sketch. So in that sketch, you can see there's a tube and tube sheet, and most commonly the thickness of the weld will be equal to the thickness of the tubes. So that's why here the nominal thickness will be governed by thickness of the tube. Now let's understand the point number 5h. Point number 5h is for weld metal overlay. So when you see there is a weld metal overlay over the metal, so in such cases you have to consider the thickness of weld metal overlay for nominal thickness. So in such cases you have to consider the thickness of weld metal overlay as a nominal thickness. So this is all about the point number 5. Now let's learn about the point number 6. Point number 6 is related to the thickness of the repair weld. So when we have to repair any weld, so nominal thickness will be the thickness of the thickness depth of the repair weld. So this is all about the clause UW40F. So I hope guys you got some value from this video. So if you find our videos are useful, then please like and share with your colleagues and friends. Thank you.